We have some brand new updates from Google Gemini, and today I'm going to run you through exactly how they work, how to use them, etc. And these are completely free. So one of the newest updates, for example, is the personalization. We've also got a bunch of other methods. I've actually left a bunch of notes inside the AI Profit Boardroom if you want to learn exactly how to do it. So one of the biggest updates here is the guided learning mode, right? So this is basically like an interactive teaching mode, and it basically tests you and shows you exactly how to learn things quickly. Now, it's kind of similar to, for example, something like Notebook LM, which is a really powerful free tool as well. But basically, this is a really cool way to do guided learning as you're learning something throughout the journey, right? So let me show you an example of exactly how this works. So you can now use, you've got an option between Gemini and guided learning in Gemini. You see the difference here? So it's two different ways of using it, right? So we're going to be testing this. For example, we've got an example right here, right? And you can see here, we've got, I'm a freshman preparing for an exam. In my intro in biology class, can you help me learn about enzymes, blah, blah, blah. And then we can use a guided learning method to help us learn faster, right? Now, at the same time, what we can also do is we can say, okay, recall my recent conversations with you. And you can actually ask Gemini now for questions and that sort of thing, and it will actually recall recent information, right? So it says, for example, looks like we've had a few conversations recently. We discussed funny scenes with AI, articles on the future of AI agents, clustering keywords, news headlines, blah, 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 right? And so it's really easy and powerful to do this, and it doesn't take a long time, but it is a bit of a game changer. Now, if you're using something like ChatGPT, I think normally you do have to pay for that feature, whereas now, for example, it's fully loaded with all of the different ways you can use this, and it's super simple and easy to do as well, step by step. All right. Now, Razek says Gemini 3. Is Gemini 3 out? It's not out yet, but hopefully it comes soon. So I haven't seen Gemini 3 come out yet, but there are a lot of rumors and that sort of thing. Check out my other video on it if you want to learn exactly how to use it step by step. So you can see here, if we go back to Google Gemini now, so to get a good handle on this for your exam, we could focus on a few key areas. I'll say, let's go. Can you quiz me? And then it should be able to actually turn this into an interactive quiz, which is great because now you can basically just learn way faster, right? And so you can actually see what it's doing here is it's taken the problem that I had, which was learning about enzymes. Absolutely don't miss that from my school days learning biology. And then from here, you can see that we've got an enzymes quiz, and we're living the enzyme dream, my friends, all right? And then you can, for example, get tested. I mean, I've actually got a question right there. That is unbelievable, isn't it? And then you can go through the quiz step by step like this directly here. What else we got here? So we got guided learning mode. We've also got temporary chats, right? So not only the personalization that we were talking about previously, where you can recall recent things. I mean, another cool thing you can do here is you can say, okay, knowing what you know about me, what's a big area of growth, right? And this is the way that I use ChatGPT. Actually, usually I try to ask it, like, based on our conversations, based on what you know about me, etc. Where are some areas I can improve? What are some systems I could set up, etc. And then you can easily get this bad boy set up, right? And you see here, for example, it's like, yeah, you have a strong creative interest in artificial intelligence, but you're pretty weak at your enzymes for biology, mate. So here's some other things. You could actually combine the two based on our previous conversations. Does exploring this sound interesting to you? Blah, 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 right? And then you can go off and start creating your quizzes or whatever you want. Okay? Really simple and easy to do. So let's keep going now. So we've talked about two different things there. Number one is the personal context. Number two is the guided learning mode. Let's have a look at the temporary chats over here. So if we go to new chat, and we've got a bunch of options. So we've got import code. We should be able to start a new chat here. But before I get into that, I want to show you this as well. This is quite interesting. So we've got these storybooks, right? So basically you can create a customized picture book for either children or adults, give a topic and an optional target audience and an optional art style for the images, right? So let's plug this in, we'll test it out. So I'm going to say, okay, based on the recent updates in the AI world, for example, ChatGPT, give me a storyboard for adults that would be funny, talking about the world of AI and how bad ChatGPT 5 was, despite us waiting 2 years for it. Something like that, right? And then we can actually start building out a storybook using this process, right? So you can see it's now creating a storybook, writing the first draft. So you can actually like create audiobooks and storybooks on the spot for you. Pretty crazy. So we'll just wait for that to load. And we should be good to go on that in a second. What else we got here? So once that's loading, we can come back to that in a minute. We also have image generation, right? Now, this is actually available apparently inside Google Docs as well, but also you can use the new image gen 4 that just came out inside here, right? So if you go to image generate with image gen, and then we'll say a cat eating biscottinos, and we'll just wait for that to load. And that will just generate an image, right? So it's basically like an interactive sort of learning environment now where you can build apps, you can build quizzes, you can learn what you want. And I actually think like Gemini Pro is easily one of the best out there. You know, it's right up there in terms of responses versus Claude, but you know, Claude can't generate images, and it definitely cannot generate pictures of cats eating biscottinos like this. That's world class. And then also, you know, you've got, for example, stuff like ChatGPT 5, but I know a lot of people feel let down by that and it's not quite as good. So Gemini might be a good option. I also think one of the strongest points of Gemini is that it can actually create really, really good apps directly inside here, right? So if you've ever been like, right, I want to build an app, but I don't know how to do it. Well, we have a lot of training inside the AI Profit Boardroom, but also you can just go inside the chat here, toggle on Canvas, right? So you can start a new chat. And then from the Canvas feature, you can start building stuff out, right? So for example, let's go inside here and we'll say, right, create an app about, and then you plug in whatever your app is about. So let's say, for example, it is about maybe keyword research for SEO, right? And what it's going to do is just start going off and building that out. So wait for that in a minute, but whilst that's coding out in the background over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go onto Gemini. And what you can see is you can actually, if we unmute this, you can actually listen back to the storyboard, right? So you can not only flick through the storyboard and have a great time reading it, but also you can just listen to it. So let's have a listen to this. I feel bad for Barry. Barry's had a hard day in the office, this man. Look at him, all excited about ChatGPT 5. Brenda's just not having it. She's not having it at all. Now, if you don't have, that's interesting actually. So you might not be able to hear that back. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change the speaker. One second here. Let's see if you can hear this or not. So I'm going to try and play this audio back, and we'll see if you can hear it. Let me know in the comments if you can hear this or not.
The year is 2025. For 2 long years, the world held its breath for one thing: ChatGPT-5. Tech gurus prophesied its arrival, influencers vlogged about its potential, and Barry, a man whose greatest technical achievement was programming his coffee maker.
Can you hear that or not? If you can, just let me know in the comments so that I can help you. If it's not working, I will share a link inside the AI Profit Boardroom. You could just steal that from me, right? But essentially, it's pretty amazing that you can just create a story on the fly, and then you can go from there. So I'm going to just put that inside the AI Profit Boardroom here.
Waited most impatiently of all. "This is it, Brenda," he'd say to his long-suffering wife, his eyes gleaming with the fervor of a true believer. "It's going to write my novel, plan our vacation, and finally figure out what..." "This is it, Brenda," he'd say to his long-suffering wife. The day it launched, the internet practically buckled. Barry, with trembling hands, typed his first momentous query: "ChatGPT-5, what is the meaning of life?" He leaned back, ready for enlightenment. The AI word, pixels danced, and then the answer appeared: 42. He tried again. "Okay, can you help me write a best-selling sci-fi novel?" ChatGPT-5 responded instantly. Synopsis: a brave toaster and a cynical microwave go on a quest to find the legendary golden spatula. It's a buddy comedy with lasers. "What about that weird smell in the fridge?" he typed, his last hope dwindling. The AI's response was a single, unhelpful image, a stock photo of a man shrugging. Brenda walked in, holding a Tupperware container at arm's length. "I found the smell," she announced, her voice flat. "It was your 2-week-old science experiment with leftover chili." Barry looked from the sentient appliance novel plot to the shrugging man on his screen, then to the biohazard his wife was holding. The great leap forward for humanity felt more like a clumsy stumble into a puddle of forgotten leftovers. He started to laugh. It was a slow, rumbling chuckle that grew into a full-blown belly laugh. 2 years of hype, of breathless anticipation, for an AI that was essentially a glorified, taco-obsessed Magic 8-Ball. "Well," he said, wiping a tear from his eye, "at least we know what's for dinner." Brenda just shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. The future was here, and it was gloriously, hilariously, disappointingly human, and it definitely wanted tacos.
Alright there, peeps. I had to move the microphone, so that's why I didn't talk. But essentially what you can see here is we have a generated video with one single click. I literally generated it live for you today. The video was made fully with Gemini. The images were made with Gemini. It was all storyboarded and put together kind of like an artifact style with audio, and it's shareable. You can also flick between a lower pitch voice and a higher pitch voice.
"Well," he said, wiping a tear from his eye, "at least we know what's for dinner." Brenda just shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips.
It reminds me a little bit of Blinkist, but slightly more amusing and interesting. All right, so let's click on share now. If we click on share, we can create that audiobook. I can share it with, the world, and then you've got that ready to go. All right, kind of like I've added down here. All right, that's a shareable link. And so you can do that with Gemini, pretty cool. That was the audio generated right there. Some people are asking, like, what are the export functions? So I think you can print this off, right? So you can actually download it as a PDF, I don't think you can actually download it as a video, from what I can see. It's kind of like, it's not really a video, it's kind of like more a PDF document with a voiceover at the top. So I can imagine that's why they just make it shareable. Maybe as well they don't want people going out and spamming YouTube or something like that, which totally makes sense. Like, you know, we don't want that. We don't want just a whole of YouTube to be AI storyboarding. Stephen, head of growth at Goldie Agency, is here. He says, "This is me spying on my boss." What a legend. Good to see you here, Stephen. Just perusing LinkedIn. If you saw me there, this is what I do. This is what we do for fun, if you're wondering what I'm doing. By the way, just so everyone's clear, Stephen works with our agency. He's absolutely awesome guy to work with. And if you want to book in a sales call, link in the comments and description to book in a free SEO strategy session. All right, so we're good to go on that. We can download it. We can start from the beginning. We can listen in full. And literally all I said here, it was very creative. I just said, based on the recent updates in the AI world, for example, ChatGPT 5, give me a storyboard for adults that would be funny, talking about the world of AI and how bad ChatGPT 5 was, despite us waiting 2 years for it. And if you're good with Stephen in the comments, he might even send you a video of him dancing at a Goldie Agency Poland get-together that was absolutely legendary recently. All right, so we're going to kick this back off now. We've basically got Gemini creating storyboards. It's really good at creating personalized conversations. It creates these guided learning modes, and it's very, very good at generating images. I mean, what other AI in the world can do this? Tell me. Literally just tell me one AI in the world that can do this apart from Gemini, because the image quality is top notch. You might get good outputs from Claude, but you won't get good image quality. You could use ChatGPT 5, but can you create animated storyboards on ChatGPT 5? No, and everyone feels quite let down by it, I think, just in general. And then also, you can create these like quick SaaS tools, I call them. Like, for example, we can say here, create an app about keyword research for SEO, and then boom shakalaka, we can get that right here. So if we click on get suggestions, we've got all these keyword suggestions. We just built out a keyword tool that's actually shareable with people, and then we've got a bunch of like keyword ideas here, right? And it was all just created in one shot. Looks really nice. And so you can see the power of Gemini. Like, honestly, if I had to focus on one single, if I said like who's going to win out of all the AI options out there, who's going to win, I would genuinely say Google are probably leading the race, right? I think if you look at what, for example, ChatGPT are doing, they rely heavily on marketing, right? They've got someone amazing like a frontman like Sam Altman, and he's a great frontman for the brand. But at the same time, if they didn't have that marketing, then it'd be really, it'd be a struggle, right? So if we go back to Google now as well, let's just check. Yeah, I mean, Google are absolutely smashing it, right? If you look at their growth over the last year or so, they're absolutely flying. They seem to be making very good moves in the industry in general, right? They're leading it. Don't bear in mind as well, they've got stuff like Notebook LM. They've got stuff like, for example, Google Jules. They've got Google CLI, etc. So it's really powerful stuff. Aaron says Google is too censored, ChatGPT is less restricted. It depends what you're doing with it, right? For me, I don't really have anything that would be going against their guidelines, so I guess I just don't come across that. But it depends what industry you're in, right? It depends what dodgy stuff you're doing on there. And Abdul says, please tell me how to use it shortly, then I will see the live afterwards. All right, so if you want to do this, all you do is you go to Gemini, and then you say, okay, create a storyboard about, and then you just type in whatever the storyboard is about, right? So let's say, for example, SEO is dead because ChatGPT came along and destroyed it. But we're happy now because actually people search more than ever. Actually, I'm going to use Whisperflow for this. More than ever because AI search is growing every day as people get addicted to searching in there, and because they can actually get better responses than Google. All right. By the way, if you're wondering what I just used for that, that's Whisperflow. So we're going to say create a storyboard for that. That should toggle it on. And then let's see if that triggers automatically, or if I have to click one of the options. I think we're going to be good to go on that. It's generating an image, but I can't see a storyboard. Let's go back to Storybook. Oh, Storybook, that's it, Storybook. All right, so we have to do it in here. We'll just say, okay, create a storybook. And then that should toggle it on, all right? So just to recap there, the steps, you go up to gems, you go up to Storybook, you say create a storybook about whatever you want, and then it will start creating that, right? And goes off and does that bad boy. What else we got here? So Veo 3 says, I think Veo 3 is supported in Gemini Studio. Can we convert the storybook in video? As far as I'm aware, you can't. But what what you could do if you were like absolutely insistent on creating a video out of it, right? What you can actually do is you just get something like Descript is really good, or you can use something like, for example, Streamlabs. You just record your screen. Even like Loom would probably do the job. And then from there, all you would do is you would just go back to the storybook that we created. Select this one, and then once that's done, just record your screen whilst you're playing it, right? And play it full screen. And then that's problem solved, right? You got the Google file ready to go. User X says, can you please talk about batch processing and scalability? How we can scale this type of applications. Yeah, I mean, you can use something like N8N, right? If you want to scale this stuff, just keeping it really simple. But if you want to keep this stuff simple, I assume like if you want to scale applications, you can use something like N8N. It's really easy to just scale stuff and have it working on a repetitive loop with the API. The other option that you have, right? Let's say, for example, with batch scaling, you're talking about Claude. So you can use Claude code for that. I'm not going to get too much into it because it goes way outside the scope of this live stream and this video. But yeah, feel free to jump in the AR Profit Boardroom if you want more help on that, right? If you go to the calendar here, we actually do 5 coaching calls a week. So you can just jump on the coaching calls, ask us any questions live. If you can't make it, you can ask questions inside the community and that sort of thing as well. Let's see what we got. What else we got here? Google's prototype team is really good. The quality of AI products they are releasing is really useful. I'd 100% agree with that, right? Bear in mind, like, we're only looking at the front end of Gemini. But if you go to AI Studio, it's redonkulous what else you can do with it, right? So, for example, if you go inside AI Studio here, you can stream your screen in real time and just speak to the AI. Like, whatever AI can do that right now, right, on the desktop. You can also, for example, generate media. You can, for example, build stuff. So you can build apps directly with Gemini here. And there's all these different apps that you can actually just test if you just want to, have a go at something that's already pre-made and you're not sure what you're doing. And then also, yeah, you've got the build and the stream section. Let's go on the stream section here. So if we go to share screen, and I'm just going to go to share screen here. We'll share screen 2. What's crack-a-lacking, my friend?
Not much, just hanging out.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go into Google Gemini. Could you give me an idea for an SEO app that we could build?
Sure. How about an app that analyzes website content for SEO optimization and...
All right, so you get the point. It was a little bit laggy there. I think it's because I'm live streaming. But you get the point. Like, you can just ask it to come up with SEO optimization tips and then whatever. It's good to go. All right. So, living the dream right there. And then User X says, I was working on a master data management project for an industry. The problem is scalability. And even if we do batch processing, we still lose a lot of context. Any suggestions, please? I mean, it goes way outside the scope of this, but I would just look more into batch processing and how you can do it. There's another way you can actually get the costs of, for example, like Claude down as well. But also, like, bear in mind, all these apps all these APIs are upgrading in terms of their context windows. So, for example, Claude this week increased its context window by 1 million, right? So it went from 200K to 1 million. Then you also got, for example, Google Gemini, that's 1 million context window. And to be honest, like, they probably, give it the next update. who knows what Google 3.0 is going to be like, Google Gemini 3.0. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Sarang says there's a print error. When I clicked, it doesn't print. Okay. And then DT says, yo, this screen share feature is really solve a pain point for a lot of people. Yeah. And the crazy thing about this is, right? The crazy thing about this is that nobody even knows about it or even really understands how to use it properly. But it's an absolute game changer. So now we're going to listen to The Owl and the Firefly by Julian Goldie SEO, apparently. Now, if we click on print, let's have a look here. Will it print or not? So you can see it's loading the bar right there, right? Just coming back to Sarang's question. It's preparing it. Is it going to break or is it not? It did something. It didn't download it. Let's click on print again. Yeah, you might be right there. There might be a bug, but bear in mind it's relatively new, so fair enough. So let's play this now.
The Owl and the Firefly. In the heart of the big, bustling city of Wabopolis lived an old owl named Silas. From his perch high atop the great library, he had watched the city grow. For years, everyone came to Silas for answers. He knew all the secret paths and hidden alleys of Wabopolis, the best keywords to whisper to get the best results. He was the master of search engine optimization, or SEO for short. Then, one day, a new light appeared in Wabopolis. It was Sparky, a tiny firefly who zipped and zoomed through the city streets, leaving a trail of brilliant light. Sparky didn't know the old paths. He made new ones. He didn't whisper keywords. He had conversations. He was an AI, and he was changing everything. Soon, the crowds that
Just coming back to this, so Abdul says, what is this about? How can we use this storyboard? So essentially what you can do with this storyboard is you can create like interactive storyboards to learn about stuff. You know, a lot of people, for example, quite a few people inside the AI Profit Boardroom have asked, like, how can you create comics or how can you create books, etc. And this is one of the best ways to do it, one of the easiest ways to do it. And essentially what this book is about, this is kind of more like, honestly, this is more like a, I would say, it feels more like a kid's story, to be honest. If I go back, let's X off that. Yeah, so we said create a storybook about SEO. It's dead, blah, blah, blah. I think it's created more like a kid-style story, but you could ask it for an adult story as well. So, for example, if we go back to storybooks over here, then you can come up with a bunch of ideas like so. All right, so if we go to recent as well, so you can see recent here, and then we can listen back to this one. UserX says, can you talk about image recognition and video recognition capabilities of Gemini, multimodal capabilities? Because everyone talks about image and video generation, real world industry. Yeah, so I mean, like, so what you can do, for example, when when you're looking at, for example, like video generation, right? Video generation is really cool because you can create, if we go back here, if I click on, let's see what we got, video, right? And you can actually add a photo, so you can actually animate yourself as well. Let's pull up a photo of me, and then we can actually use that to generate a video. So bear with me, folks. I've downloaded a photo, and then we can upload that for consistency into Gemini. All right. All right, so we're going to upload a photo now. Let's take that picture. And then from here, we're going to say, right, okay, create a video of this man telling a funny joke and then fly into the sky, something like that, right? So we're taking that picture, and the reason that it's pretty good for uploading the picture is you can basically create character consistency. So previously, if you were generating a video, every time you asked it to generate, say, an image of a man, well, it would be like a different man every time. Or even if you were very specific with the description, it would change every time. With this process, instead, you're going to have the same character inside each video that you generate. Right? And so now we can generate the video. This is using Bayo 3, which is by far one of the best ways to do this. And then also, you know, like if we went back to, let's start another chat on the side, right? If we went back to another chat here, and then we took an image, right? So we'll upload an image. And we'll say, okay, you know, based on that multimodal capability, that image recognition, for example, we'll say describe this person. And then it should start analyzing that picture and analyzing me as a person, right? So and this is the other cool thing as well, is like you can do this in different tabs. So you can have all of this running at the same time. And because it's in Chrome, you know, it's not going to cost you memory or anything like that, right? It's just running in the background. So it now basically explains what I'm wearing, who the man is, you know, man's wearing a watch, whatever, short brown textured hair, subtle highlights, defined jawline and prominent cheekbones. I like that description. It's very, it's being very like complimentary today. And then we have the clothing and everything else, right? So that's super easy to do. So you can use that directly here. Now, if you go back here, now we've got the video. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's test it out because I did kind of stretch it quite far with the description, but let's see what we get back.
Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything.
All right, so that's basically how you can animate a image. Obviously, the flying into the skyline didn't work, but I think that was just stretching it a bit too far. But you can see exactly how to use this and how easy this is, right? So let's see what else we got here. DT Workspace says, I used Gemini mobile app with Gemini camera feature in real life. No need to type in chat window to ask any question. Just use camera and get the solution. Google product team solving real use problems. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Actually, you know, like I was booking a flight before, and I was booking the flight, and I had a picture of the passport, and I had this really long form that I had to fill in. I had to grab all the individual details from the passport picture and then type it into the form. I was like, I'm not going to do that. So instead, what I actually did was I took a picture, plugged it into the app, and then said, take those details and put it into a copy and pastable format for the form in the order of the form. And it saved me a lot of admin, right? So it was way, way faster for that. So yeah, it was really, really good. It's got a lot of good options there. So to work with apps, marketing, brainstorming, this is really gold. User X says what benchmarks you use for comparison of the models. Honestly, for me, like I don't trust benchmarks at all, right? Like, because as well, like it depends how many people are using the server. You don't know what kind of upgrades are running. You know, like if you look at ChatGPT 5, when I tested it out the other day, and you'll see this on one of my videos, when I tested it out the other day, I ran exactly the same prompt inside Claude as ChatGPT, and Claude outcoded it, right? Claude actually created an output, ChatGPT totally failed. And so the lesson there was like this AI is maybe good on the benchmarks, but in reality, when you're using it day to day, it's actually not as good as you think, right? And Magic says Gemini or Manus. So it depends what you're doing, but honestly, like here's the thing, right? If you go into Manus, and we'll pull this up right now. So I do like Manus. You know, it's quite good. I actually tend to use GenSpark more, but if you use, you know, Manus and you use Gemini, and we use exactly the same prompt. So we're going to say, right, okay, let's go back here. We'll say inside the canvas, okay, create a quiz about SEO, right? Just something quick and easy like that. And we'll do the same inside Manus, exactly the same time. So we're going to ask them both side by side to create a quiz about SEO, right? So what you can see here is that Gemini, if we compare these side by side, Gemini is already coding it, right? It's already building something, which is great. Now, if you look at Manus, Manus is going to take absolutely ages, because what it actually does is it uses browser use and computer use to go off through the internet, start trying to figure stuff out to do. Then it's going to host it on an MD file, which is kind of weird. And then it's going to format it and deliver it, right? And so let's have a look here. So this is a quiz. Now, if you look at this quiz, it's not interactive, it's not that interesting, etc. If you look at Gemini, look at that quiz. The quiz is way better, right? It's interactive, it's engaging, it's more fun, etc. Right? And so the difference here is that Gemini tends to create better outputs at the same speed as Manus, right? Whereas Manus, it creates something basic, then you have to go back in the chat, you give it another response, then you blast through a bunch more credits, and it gets a little bit annoying, right? It gets a little bit annoying. What you can do though, inside, for example, inside Manus, is you can do stuff that you cannot do inside Gemini, right? So for example, if we say, right, create a 60-second video with a story about a man going to slay a dragon in a cave, it actually created all the video files here, but then it actually sliced them together and put it inside this video, so they've got a 60-second video. You can't do that inside Veo 3, right? And now if we pull this up, we've got the video generated right here. This was actually an old one, so this was a conversation from a while back, but you get the point. Like, it's quite easy to generate videos, storyboards, etc. using this process that I'm showing you today, and then you can stitch everything together, right? Whereas inside Gemini, Gemini is not going to stitch stuff together for you directly, right? So that's one of the biggest differences here, but you kind of get this like Game of Thrones feel for the content that you're creating, right? And it's really easy to do step by step. So User says, if you're free, you should explore Amazon Bedrock. There are more than 50 LLMs. Yeah, I heard Amazon Bedrock is pretty good. Actually, the new Claude update for the million tokens context window, that was only available in 2 places, Claude Code and Amazon Bedrock. It wasn't available anywhere else. That dude says, what LLM will allow us to schedule an agent to dedicate a task? I can't remember if you can do scheduled tasks now inside Gemini. I think you might be able to. Yeah, so you can launch like scheduled actions, it's called. I haven't actually tested that. But that is interesting. So let's say, right, okay. I'm gonna go in here, new chat. Let's see if it's one of the options. I've never tested this out. We're gonna say, okay, schedule check-in AI news every day. Something like that. See if it works. But yeah, for me, I mean, for scheduling, like, the best thing is honestly like just a Google Doc with your planner. That's what I do every day. Like, I plan it out every 30 minutes. If you want to get a copy of that, then you can actually go inside the AI Profit Boardroom, just drop me a DM and I'll get that daily planner to you. But essentially, inside here, you can schedule check-in different tasks here. So you can say, right, okay, done, I will schedule AI news for you every day. Ask me to edit or delete the scheduled thing. You get a notification when it's ready. And then if we edit this, right, we can actually edit the schedule, the instructions, AI news, and we can delete that task as well, right? So if you don't want that prompt to run, you can just delete it and then boom, you're ready to go. So that's actually pretty cool. I didn't even realize Gemini could do that. So that was really cool. Which AI system is currently the best for coding? I really love Gemini if you're building something basic. Even if you're building something more complex, then I would say Claude or Gemini, but Gemini tends to have, well, it's got 3 APIs for coding, so, you know, you can't argue with that. DT says, I find Perplexity the best scheduling. Okay, great. Dot says, I'm encoding, debugging. Oh, yeah, okay, right, yeah. So if you want to, like, debug and that sort of thing, then I would recommend Claude CLI or Google CLI. You can also use ChatGPT Codex. That's pretty good for coding and that sort of thing. DT recommends Claude Code. And UseX says, is Gemini adding code assist similar to Claude Code? So you've got Gemini CLI, right? I've got a video on this inside the AI Profit Boardroom if you want this, but you can use Gemini CLI, and that's like an open, free way to code. If you want the training on that, just go inside the AI Profit Boardroom, then go to Google CLI update, and we walk you through exactly like how to install it, how to set it up, etc. Right, so it's pretty good. Very similar to Claude Code, yeah. Cool. All right. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to get access to all of my best trainings, including the training from today, inside the SAP section, you can grab it right here. So just go to the classroom, SAPs, boom. You got this, and we have all these new updates coming out. Actually, it's absolutely wild. Like you can see, we're probably the only community that regularly updates everything, right? We show, for example, how to use Notebook LM, which literally just came out with a new update. GPT-5, GPT-5 and NA10, GPT OSS, Claude 4's new context window update, and then all the new Gemini updates. Like, there's only one community in the world that's updating as quickly as we are, and that is the AI Profit Boardroom, my friends, right? Inside here as well, inside the classroom, you got all like everything else. So the 6-week AI Automation Masterclass, you got the crash course of all the marketing systems that I use in my business, including like avatar videos and stuff. Additionally, you can DM me with any questions. So this is the only place I personally connect with people. And then inside the community here, you can see it's absolutely popping off, and there's loads of good stuff inside there, right? Very active community. So feel free to join that. And also we do coaching call 5 times a week, right? So you can jump on any of the live calls 5 times per week, asking the questions, etc. Yeah, and feel free to join. Link in the comments description. DT says, nice to meet you. Appreciate you joining. And it was fantastic to meet you too, sir. And inside the link in the comments description as well, if you're like an enterprise business or you're scaling, you know, you're a 7 or 8 or 9 figure company and you want us to just build AI automations for you, then feel free to book in a AI automation session. On that call, what we're going to do is audit your time. So we'll figure out where you're spending most of your time. Then we're going to figure out, okay, what are the systems you need to build to save time, to save you hundreds of hours. And number 3, we'll just go off and build it for you once you become a client, right? And you've got tons of great testimonials there. I run one of the biggest communities in the world for AI, and also, you know, you're with someone who can save you hundreds of hours because this is what I do, right? And Dot says, when will we get Gemini 3? Who knows, my friend, who knows? But I imagine that it's coming soon because you've got ChatGPT 5 that just came out. You got 4.1 from Claude. You've got DeepSeek R2. Rumors coming out as well, so it's exciting times, my friends. Exciting times. All right, appreciate everyone who joined the call today, and if you have any questions, I will see you in the boardroom, so feel free to post there. Link in the comments description. See you on the next one. Cheers. Bye bye.